In 1917, he was a young Canadian pilot. Dueling for his life in a wood and fabric biplane over the trenches of France, by 1944, he was an Air Vice Marshal, senior commander responsible for thousands of lives and entire air campaigns. This is the story of Harold Spencer Kerby. So, how does a pilot who started his career in the absolute infancy of air combat rise to the top of its command structure during its most devastating chapter? From the cockpit to the command room, this is his story. Harold Spencer Kerby was born on May 14, 1893, in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, the only son of a minister. In 1903, his family moved west to the burgeoning city of Calgary, Alberta. Growing up in a nation still forging its identity, Kerby was filled with a sense of duty and adventure. He enrolled at the University of Toronto, pursuing a demanding degree in mechanical engineering. That field was on the cutting edge of a new industrial age that was also giving birth to the airplane. When the Great War erupted in 1914, aviation was still finding its footing. The flimsy, unpredictable machines were seen more as novelties for reconnaissance than as actual weapons. But for young men like Kerby, they were the future. In February 1915, with his engineering degree complete, he made a life-defining decision. He didn't join the Canadian Army to fight in the trenches. Instead, he traveled to England and joined the Royal Naval Air Service, or RNAs. The RNAs was the brand-new, experimental air arm of the mighty Royal Navy. Kerby was accepted as a probationary flight sublieutenant, and his training was, to put it mildly, perilous. At the Graham White School at Hendon, he learned to fly on a basic biplane that offered little protection or stability. But he mastered it, and on May 5, 1915, he was granted Royal Aero Club Aviator Certificate No. 1214. He was officially a military pilot. His timing was critical. Just over a month later, on June 12, 1915, Kerby got his first operational posting. He wasn't sent to the Western Front, but to the far-flung and brutal Gallipoli campaign, assigned to the famous No. 3 Squadron. Here, in the heat and dust of the Dardanelles, Kerby got his first real taste of war. Conditions were primitive. Pilots operated from makeshift airfields, fighting not just the enemy but mechanical failures, disease, and the unforgiving terrain. Their missions were mostly reconnaissance spotting for the massive guns of Royal Navy warships and conducting early, crude bombing raids. It was a world away from the dogfights that would later define air combat, but it was just as dangerous. This was a brutal but essential education. The experience also nearly cost him his life. On November 26, 1915, he was wounded in action, an injury serious enough to have him sent back to Britain for a long recuperation. By the time Harold Kerby was fit to return to duty in late 1916, the air war had transformed. Reconnaissance planes had given way to specialized fighter aircraft. The Flying Ace, a pilot with 5 or more confirmed kills, had captured the public's imagination, turning these men into the new knights of the air. Upon his return, Kerby was posted to No. 9 Naval Squadron in France. He was no longer a rookie. His experience in Gallipoli, paired with his engineering background, gave him a unique edge. He was assigned to Sopwith Pup, a biplane famous for its incredible maneuverability. It was the perfect match for a pilot of Kerby's skill. On March 24, 1917, he scored his first victory. On patrol near the Belgian coast, he and another pilot engaged an enemy seaplane and sent it crashing into the sea. This was the first mark on a tally that grew with astonishing speed. Just a week later, he was promoted to flight lieutenant and sent back to his old unit, No. 3 Naval Squadron. What followed was a remarkable run. Between late April and late May, Kerby claimed multiple aerial victories, quickly establishing himself as one of the RNA's most effective pilots. His fighting style wasn't reckless, it was calculated. He used the Sopwith Pup's agility to outmaneuver his opponents, getting into a superior firing position every time. But his most famous moment was still to come. By the summer of 1917, Germany had unleashed a terrifying new weapon, the WWII heavy bomber. These giants were conducting daylight bombing raids on London, causing widespread panic. The British public demanded action. In August 1917, Kerby was with the Walmer Defense Flight, a unit created specifically to intercept the Gotha raids. On August 12th, a Gotha formation was spotted heading for the English coast. While other pilots struggled to reach the bomber's high altitude, Kerby spotted one that had separated from the group. He relentlessly pursued the bomber out to sea. The Gotha was a formidable opponent, armed with multiple machine guns, but Kerby pressed his attack, dodging defensive fire and riddling the giant aircraft with bullets. The Gotha, trailing smoke, was forced down onto the water near Southend, where it overturned. In a remarkable act of chivalry, Kerby flew low over the scene and dropped his own lifebelt to a surviving German crew member before flying off to find help. A few days later, on August 22nd, he did it again, destroying a second Gotha. In a war where bombers seemed invincible, Kerby proved they could be beaten. For his great courage and initiative, he was awarded the prestigious Distinguished Service Cross. By the end of his time on the front line, Harold Spencer Kerby was officially a flying ace, credited with 9 confirmed aerial victories. His dogfighting days were ending, but his service was far from over. In May 1918, he was made Officer Commanding No. for fighter school, tasked with training the next generation of flyers. He also received the Air Force Cross, recognizing his valor and devotion to duty while flying. When World War I ended, the massive military machines were rapidly downsized. On April 1, 1918, the Royal Flying Corps and the Royal Naval Air Service merged into the world's first independent air arm, the Royal Air Force. Harold Spencer Kerby was now an RAF officer. While many aces returned to civilian life, Kerby stayed. The military was his calling, and he began the long, steady climb of a peacetime officer. The interwar years were tough for the RAF. Budgets were tight, and the force had to constantly justify its existence. For Kerby, this meant proving he was more than a hotshot pilot. He had to become a strategist, an administrator, and a diplomat. His postings took him across the globe. From 1923 to 1927, he served in British India, where the RAF policed the vast frontiers of the empire. This was a different kind of flying, requiring immense discipline and logistical planning. In a significant chapter of his career, Kerby returned to his homeland, attached to the fledgling Royal Canadian Air Force for 2 years, bringing his experience to his native country's developing air force. His journey continued eastward, where he was appointed air attaché in Peking, modern-day Beijing. In 1936, this was a diplomatic role, making him the eyes and ears of the Air Ministry in a region of growing instability. Back in Britain, he took command of No. 504 Squadron in 1934, giving him hands-on leadership experience. Through these varied and challenging roles, Kerby steadily climbed the ranks, becoming a wing commander and then group captain. He had successfully made the transition from wartime hero to respected peacetime commander. The world, however, was sliding toward conflict again. When war finally broke out in September 1939, he was ready. When the Second World War began, Group Captain Harold Kerby's role had fundamentally changed. He wouldn't be climbing into a Spitfire. His war would be fought from a desk, with maps, reports, and telephones. His first wartime command was as Officer Commanding No. 72 Wing, part of the Advanced Air Striking Force in France. This force of light bombers was tragically outmatched during the Battle of France in 1940 and suffered horrific losses. For Kerby, it was a baptism of fire in the brutal realities of modern command. After the evacuation from Dunkirk, Kerby returned to Britain. In July 1940, as the Battle of Britain raged, he was appointed station commander at RAF Binbrook, a key bomber command station. As commander, he was responsible for everything: operational readiness of the squadrons, the maintenance of the aircraft, and the morale of thousands of personnel. Every night, he watched the bombers lumber into the sky, knowing some wouldn't return. His leadership skills were clearly recognized. He was promoted and on March 1, 1941, was made a temporary air commodore. His most significant command came on March 5, 1943, when he was promoted to acting Air Vice Marshal and appointed Air Officer commanding Air Headquarters East Africa. This was an immense responsibility. From his headquarters, Kerby commanded all RAF operations across a vast swath of the continent. He was a theater-level commander, overseeing crucial supply routes, managing maritime patrols, hunting for Axis submarines in the Indian Ocean, and coordinating with Army and government leaders. In recognition of his service, he was appointed a Companion of the Order of the Bath on June 2, 1943. In December 1944, Kerby received his final major wartime posting as Air Officer Administration at the headquarters of RAF Coastal Command. This command's vital mission was to keep Britain's sea lanes open by fighting a relentless war against Germany's U-boats. As the senior administrator, Kerby was at the nerve center of this global operation, ensuring the complex machine of aircraft, personnel, and logistics ran smoothly. From the dogfights over France to the strategic oversight of a global anti-submarine campaign, Harold Kerby's journey was complete. Harold Spencer Kerby retired from the Royal Air Force on June 28, 1946, retaining the rank of Air Vice Marshal. His career spanned 31 years, 2 world wars, and the entire adolescence of military aviation. Think about it. He started as a junior pilot in 1915, flying an open-cockpit biplane over Gallipoli, and became a celebrated fighter ace over the Western Front. He survived, stayed in the service, and embraced the less glamorous but essential roles of instructor, staff officer, and diplomat. And when the Second Great War came, he rose to the highest levels of command. He was no longer the individual warrior, but the master strategist, responsible not for one aircraft, but for entire fleets. His contributions were recognized not only by Great Britain but also by the United States, which awarded him the Legion of Merit, first as an officer in 1946, and then elevating it to commander in 1947, a clear acknowledgement of his role in the joint Allied war effort. Harold Spencer Kerby's story is one of quiet competence, unwavering dedication, and incredible adaptability. He was a Canadian who rose to the near top of the Royal Air Force, hero in 2 distinct ways. First, as the daring young ace whose individual skill inspired a nation. And second, as the seasoned commander whose strategic vision helped ensure ultimate victory. Harold Spencer Kerby passed away on June 8, 1963, at the age of 70. He left behind a legacy of service that stretched from the very dawn of air combat to its absolute zenith. If you found this look into the remarkable career of Air Vice Marshal Kerby compelling, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories about the figures who shaped military history. And let us know in the comments below if there are other commanders or aces whose stories you'd like to see covered. Thanks for watching.